Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name's Jaworski, coming to you live from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most, from the co-host with the most here on The Rundown. Two-way views, conservative news, and Craig, guess what day it is?
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
It's hump day.
Hump day!
It's hump day.
Hump day!
That's right, folks. Today is Hump Day. This is the day in which we attempt to begin the weekend, sometimes with success, sometimes not. But as we like to say, the fun is all in the trying.
Let's try it, baby. Let's give it a try. Let's do it right now. Let's just party.
Yes,
My
sir.
girl wants to party all the time, party all the time, party all the time.
Well, seeing as how every day is both the work week and the weekend for you, I guess you do kind of party all the time.
That's how I roll, bro. That's how I roll.
I thought you rolled on a riding lawnmower.
Rolling. Lawnmower. It's the best way to get acclimatization for the heat as it comes in.
You know, I have to admit, when we had a bigger piece of property, I actually do miss the riding lawnmower. It was relaxing, quiet.
I put the headset on. I jam on my
Yep.
tunes.
Yep.
I
got rid of it
I
just
open carry
after
while
I
I'm
put
on
on
the
the
lawnmower.
I got after it just after I added a cup holder.
There you go.
I mean, I could always just kind of
Get it.
roll it out. I mean, I don't have a big enough piece of property now to need it. I mean, I probably could have used it, but I'm like, yeah, no. Have you ever seen like the show where the guy comes out, he's got this little patch, he goes and rides his riding lawnmower back in?
Yep. Seen it. It takes
Seen
me
it.
3 days to cut my grass in the summer. Yeah.
And by the time you're done, it's time to mow the first portion again.
Listen, I ain't got no Yellowstone property or anything like that. It's just, in the summer here with that heat and the rain, it grows like bamboo. It grows like a foot a day. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yes, I have seen your. I've never seen it during the summer, but I've seen it in the winter when it's growing. I mean, not winter; it's March. I've seen it in February and March, and it ain't no joke. It's a jungle kind of even then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think you're
March,
compensated
we're still
for the time that you
negotiating.
spent in the desert.
Oh yeah, right. Listen, yeah. There were dudes that used to get, like, grass seeds sent to them from home, and they'd have like one lot of grass that'd be growing. That way, they could go stand in the grass with their bare feet like every day.
When I finally got my like sod put, like lawn done in my backyard, because before that it was really just mowed crabgrass. When I actually got a real lawn put out there, the first summer I was out there, I would just sometimes just go out and just stand barefoot in the grass just because.
Yeah.
Of course, I still do that.
Yeah. Listen, let's be clear. In Florida, there's like 8 people that actually have real lawns of real grass. The rest of us just have about 3 inches of short green shit. That's all. It just doesn't matter what it is. We just cut it. Keep it about 3 inches long. 73 different kinds of wild grasses and weeds. Looks good.
Looks good. Doesn't matter if it bites you or anything like that.
Nope. Yeah, you don't walk around in Florida grass barefoot. You don't do that. Yeah.
No, you're just asking for some sort of a green creature to to use your big toe as a snack.
Exactly right. Yep. Exactly right.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get into the program. But before we get started, let's go ahead and give a quick shout out to our sponsors.
Yeah, Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. Now you get yourself an AR barrel for any caliber you want, any length you want for rifle or pistol build. Hitmanindustry.net. Make sure you check them out. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. If you want the best in tactical concealed holsters on the market, get on over to Hog Holsters. That's HAWG holsters.com. Hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. It's all one word, no spaces, all caps. get a nice little discount. If you're looking for field gear, tactical gear, web gear, military, law enforcement, police, fire, EMS, whatever it may be, get your group together, get your agency together, make an order over at uscombatgear.com, where you can get everything except the gun.
That's right, folks. Please take a moment and visit our sponsors. All you have to do is follow the links in the description of this program. Go there, click on the link, spend some money with them, and make sure you tell them it was the guys over at The Rundown that sent you. Also, I want to encourage you, if you haven't already done so, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. We're trying to grow our audience, folks, and the only way we do that is if you tell your friends, because you know the internet gods do not wish for us to get more popular. They don't want right-leaning shows to be popular, so we count on you to help spread the word. So do us a favor, go there, like us now. Please.
Do it now.
All right, good stuff, good stuff. Let's go ahead and get into today's program. The first one here, getting to lead actually with a gun story. And the reason why this is important is because a lot of people, and we've talked about this I don't know how many times on the program, a lot of people think that because you have an R after your name, you are automatically pro-gun. Like, I am just so pro-gun because I have an R after my name, so therefore I must be I must be pro-gun. I'm pro-Second Amendment, no matter how anti-Second Amendment their positions may be. In fact, organizations like the Gun Owners of America, for them, you can't get an A+ with Gun Owners America unless you have been a visible, vocal advocate for the Second Amendment, either having fought legislation, fought anti-gun legislation, introduced pro-gun legislation, or worked as an advocate in that area. In fact, last election cycle, there were only 5 congressional candidates who got A+ ratings with the Gun Owners of America, and you happen to be looking at one of them. Anyway, by the way, the only one outside of the state of Texas. Anyway, moving right along. Well, GOA has brought up an interesting little tidbit, and that has to do with legislation that's been introduced in Congress. And this article, written by our good friend, Mr. Tank Knighton, or we'll call him Tom. He calls himself Tom, but we'll call him Tank. He says GOA lashes out over GOP betrayal in gutting gun bills. It says here Republican majorities currently hold both chambers of Congress. There's a Republican president and White House. Conservatives hold a clear majority on the Supreme Court. Considering the GOP claim to be the party of gun rights, this should be the golden era for us. However, it's not. Republicans gutted 2 extremely pro-gun bills, and Gun Owners of America aren't happy in the least. And let me just read this here. This is from Gun Owners of America. It says here, Gun Owners of America today slammed the White House Ways and Means Committee for choosing to protect unconstitutional gun registrations rather than end an archaic infringement on the Second Amendment by advancing a so-called compromise provision that falls short of fully repealing the unconstitutional tax on suppressors and other firearms regulated under the National Firearms Act. The newly released language, part of a broader tax package, reduces transfer tax and suppressors to 0, but maintains a $200 tax on most other NFA firearms and codifies a reduced $5 tax on others. GOA has been working for months to ensure full deregulation of suppressors and the protection of pistol braces through reconciliation, providing detailed legal analysis to prove such reforms would pass Byrd rule scrutiny. GOA will continue to push for a full repeal of the NFA taxes and regulations, including the unjust $200 transfer tax on lawfully owned. Senior Vice President of Gun Owners of America. It says here, this is a compromise. This compromise is a betrayal. The House Ways and Means Committee chose to leave unconstitutional registration and taxes in place, even though they had a clear path to repeal them. GOA made it crystal clear that full regulation of suppressors and protection for braces. Full deregulation of suppressors and protection for brace owners was achievable under reconciliation. Lawmakers knew it, and they chose political convenience over principle. gun owners won't forget this. Now, this is vitally important. And you notice they were very tactical in not saying Republicans. But as Tom noted, Republicans are in control. They have majorities in both houses. This is reconciliation. So they all they need is a simple majority, which means they need just about every Republican in the House to vote for it, and they need all but 2 or 3 Republicans to vote for it in the Senate. And even then, they could probably add one more and get J.D. Vance to come vote for it. So they could have done this. And if it's a compromise, well, then the question is, who sold them out?
Again, we talk about this all the time down here in Florida. It's a big issue because of the term limits. We have we call them rhinos for the lack of a better term. These are people that they like having the R next to their name because of what it gets them in the group they get to hang out with, and maybe 70-80% of their policies agree with the national policy. But you have people in Congress that are looking towards their next job. And their next job many times depends on what their voting record was on Second Amendment rights. When you look at it, you're talking about a U.S. congressperson who serves 2 years and they make $170,000 a year. That might just be their stepping stone job, Craig. They're there for 2-3 years. They know they're not going to get the Senate seat because the 2 people have been embedded there forever and ever. Well, they're going to go back and run for countywide office or statewide office in their home state, and they have to be careful what they vote on. So they're not voting on gun stuff because they know they're going to get attacked for voting on gun stuff when they go back home. That's one of the reasons you don't get all the Republicans all the time. Now you're going to have a couple, of course, that probably object to guns, just weren't gun people, and they don't know how to follow the national policy, the national conservative Republican policy. And then probably, Craig, there's a whole bunch of them in here that just don't want to do what Trump wants to do. This is something the president supports. Well, we don't want to do it.
Right. They just, once again, everyone forgets that just because we have an R team doesn't necessarily mean we're all on the same team on all issues. And in this particular case, when it comes to the Second Amendment, there are a lot of Republican Second Amendment butts. Yeah.
Now I'm all for when it's up for its re-election time here. Let's focus our funds on getting and primarying them out. If you cannot support the party's most desired results they want during this administration, then you got to go.
There you go. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm a person who, yes, I'm a registered Republican, but I'm a registered Republican because it's the party whose politicians are most in line with what I believe. It's the values, and if you're not going to be consistent with the values, then you don't deserve my support. You don't deserve my money. You don't deserve my vote. In fact, because you claim to be one of us, and then your position is contrary to what the party believes, I almost believe we have to oppose you. We have to spend, because you're the one we shouldn't have to check on.
Yes,
we shouldn't have to.
Yeah, you should be the gimme.
Right.
You should be the X is in the equation is already known.
Right. Exactly. But since you're not, it's going to be time to go. So once again, just want to remind you. And by the way, folks, this also means the only way this happens is if you support candidates running for office. I mean, I hate to say this, but I'm just gonna be real, because I've run before. I'm gonna run again. But I'll tell you this: the one thing that people know is they know that the gun community. We give to the organizations. We'll give to NRA. We'll give to FBC. We'll give to GOA. We'll give to NAGR. But we don't necessarily put our money together, and we don't necessarily give to candidates. And until we are doing that, until we are standing up as a Second Amendment community, donating significant money to pro-gun advocates, not just people who say they support the Second Amendment, but people who are actually advocates of the Second Amendment, we're going to continue to see weak-kneed Republicans do stuff like this.
Yep, absolutely. And it seems like we're always going to let them off the hook. Oh, well, okay, all right. Nope. We've got to do something. You got to stand up against them. And I think that is, working on primarying them out.
Right. You start by educating them. And if the education don't work, then you primary and you get them out.
Yep.
Once they know better and they still do it, too bad. So sad. Bye-bye.
Yep.
I hate to say this. It's about the issues. It's not about the party. It's important. One of the things I like about the Second Amendment is it's really a nonpartisan issue. It's you either believe it, or well, it's partisan. It's not Republican versus Democrat. It's you either believe in it or you don't.
Right.
And y'all better make up your mind. Do you believe in it or don't you believe in it? If you don't, well, then maybe it's time you figure something else out to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of nonpartisan, how many times have you heard the Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office says X, Y, and Z? Well, first of all, we all know that 9 times out of 10, they always come out taking the very, very liberal left-wing position. And just so you know, that is not it's not a mystery why, at least for those who know and understand it. Breitbart has a piece out reporting on exactly why that is. And it says here, nonpartisan in name only, Congressional Budget Office revealed as hotbed of unreliable left-wing activists. Congress created the Congressional Budget Office, otherwise known as the CBO, as a nonpartisan advisory body, but an examination of CBO's performance and its personnel's political history reveals a remarkable, unreliable left-wing bias. It is unreliable, and yes, it's very left-wing. Democrats are using CBO analysis of hotly debated budget reconciliation bill to fight President Donald Trump's proposed historic tax cuts for Americans and efforts to reform programs throughout the federal government, including assuring American taxpayers are not on the hook for illegal aliens' health care. To bolster their argument, Democrats and their media allies have leaned on widespread acceptance that CBO is nonpartisan. 1,358 different media stories in the last year have appended the word nonpartisan to the beginning of the office's name, according to the American Accountability Foundation. But the CBO's extensive history of overestimating benefits for Americans from public health care, underestimating costs of Democratic policies on taxpayers, and stacking the deck against Republican policies reveals a deeply partisan agency influencing lawmakers in order to further left-wing causes. In addition to the history of unreliable projections propping up Democrats, according to FEC records, of nearly $17,000 donated to candidates and committees from the CBO employees since 1986. Only $250 went to Republican candidates, a single donation to George W. Bush in 2000. The CBO's history of overestimating benefits from public health care initiatives has been used by lawmakers to justify monumental policy decisions. And you know, one of the other things that they're doing this time around is they're trying to require that President Trump, that they score the extension of the tax cuts, that they actually need to find spending cuts to go against them, right? Even though that money's already there. In other words, we already passed the tax cuts. We didn't add new spending based on what was going to happen after they expired. But they're saying now we got to find even more cuts in order to be able to quote unquote afford them.
Yeah, go back to the story with this the CBO being nonpartisan. I mean, are you surprised? Are you surprised at all, Craig? Are you surprised at all when you find out that here's this congressional nonpartisan committee that again ends up being another one of these Congress-funded organizations, Congress-created organizations, and it's 99%, liberal. It's typical. This came up and you showed me this story, and I was like, I'm pretty sure we all knew that, right? I mean, they could call themselves nonpartisan all they want, right? But this is when you see the anonymous sources from this nonpartisan organization. Oh, anonymous sources. Okay, got it. Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah.
Well, and keep in mind, these are the same folks who are saying like 7 million or 8 million people are going to be kicked off Medicare. Well, wait a minute. Where did you get that number? Especially since all they've said is, look, we're not cutting any benefits. What we are saying is, one thing they are doing is they're raising the requirement. If you are 64 instead of 54, if you are under the age of 64 and able to work, you should work in order to qualify for Medicaid. I don't see what the problem is.
Yeah, yeah,
If
and
you're
you have
not
to
able to work, you're
certify.
not able to work.
Yeah,
But if you are
you have
able
to certify.
to work,
Right. Yeah, yeah, and it's an online thing where you have to certify that you're eligible for Medicare. Oh my
well,
goodness, I have to certify it. And you know why that's such a threat to people? Because they've been lying the whole time, right?
right.
And now I'm making them check a box on a government form that says I certify I am, because if you get caught,
well,
now you're liable.
well, because here's what happens. Here's what happens, Mike. And it's not even. It's like this. You don't have to actually be working. You just have to certify that you're looking for work. Look,
Right.
I got to be on Medicare. I don't have work. I don't have a job. I'm looking.
Yeah.
Right. I put in an application 3 weeks ago. I'm waiting. And that's all you have to do. And because of that, because they have that they want to add that work requirement. Those are literally anybody who refuses to check a box saying that they're at least looking for work from the age of 55 to 64. Well, now all of a sudden, yeah, you're not going to qualify.
Yeah.
And
and by the way,
Republican,
Craig, this is
every single
looking
Republican's
for your
made it
job
clear,
box.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, they've all made it clear they're not cutting Medicaid. I mean,
Yeah.
or Medicaid.
And I know some people are afraid to check that, but it's, even when you check that box, it's I don't have a job in my career field. Let's say you're an electrical engineer and you were laid off, right? You're not going to lose your Medicare because you refuse to take a job at McDonald's. Okay.
Right.
No. They want to get you back to where you were before. They're not looking to make up for it with 7 part-time jobs. Okay.
Right. Exactly. Anyway, it's idiotic. And we know this, and we know that they're partisan. And the fact that they pretend to be nonpartisan. What's funny is anytime a group is conservative leaning, they refuse to call them nonpartisan. Like there was someone they were talking about Rasmussen, and every time I see Rasmussen, they're like the conservative leaning polling agency. And I never see that about Pew. I never see that about Reuters. I never see that about any of the other ones that are clearly left-leaning. Even when you have, for example, John Hopkins doing a study. And I'm sorry, is there any group more left-leaning than John Hopkins?
No.
They don't say the left-leaning or the liberal-leaning polling group.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't understand what. So conservative basically means you're not liberal. That's all it means.
Yes.
Even if you are nonpartisan, you're not liberal. So therefore, nanny boo boo. All right, moving right along. All right, this is a good one here. We all know that Bernie is flying around the country, right, doing his thing on the Fighting Oligarchy tour. Well, turns out some folks have issues with his carbon footprint.
Also, yesterday, Brett Baer had an interview with Bernie Sanders.
Yes.
And Bernie is on this trip, the oligarch tour, all over the country and getting big crowds. And he preaches about how the wealthy, how the rich are controlling our political system. And he wants to stand with the working class. But then Brett asked him, if that's the case, and you're so into the carbon footprint and so into energy, why are you flying on a private plane? Isn't that hypocritical? Listen to this.
When's the last time you saw Donald Trump during a campaign mode at National Airport?
No, it doesn't. But he's also not fighting the oligarchy.
No. You run a campaign and you do 3 or 4 or 5 rallies in a week. The only way you can get around to talk to 30,000 people. Think I'm going to be sitting on a waiting line at United waiting, 30,000 people are waiting? That's the only way you can get around. No apologies for that. That's what campaign travel is about. We've done it in the past. We're going to do it in the future.
No one is that.
So an energy watchdog group is exposing what they're calling the eye-popping carbon footprint of Sanders on his jet-setting tour. It says here, as Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders continues to travel around the country on his Fighting Oligarchy tour, while at the same time defending his use of private jets to do so, an energy watchdog group has calculated the true scope of the carbon emissions of his flights have emitted. During the 16 stops of the tour, which Sanders embarked on with the help of Progressive Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, otherwise known as Alex the bartender, his private jet emitted a total of 62.15 tons or metric tons of carbon dioxide during, according to an estimate from Power to the Future. To put that in perspective, Power the Future said in a press release that emissions equate to burning 62,600 pounds of coal, driving a gas-powered SUV 150,000 miles, powering every home in Sanders' hometown of Burlington, Vermont for weeks, and powering 9 U.S. homes for an entire year. Now, that's interesting. Those are some interesting numbers there, Mike, for a guy who claims that he cares about the environment and doesn't want people expanding their carbon footprint or polluting the air.
I'm too important to wait in line, Craig. I'm too important to wait in line. I have to get to multiple places. I have to be able to get there, and I'm too important to wait in line. I don't know. How about you take a bus? You rent you one of them tour buses, all right? And you go from city to city and you drive. And let's say you just keep driving west. And then when you get to, oh man, we got to vote this week, then you take a flight back. Then you can take a flight back Monday to wherever the bus is. And you can do it again, stay on that bus. That way you're taking one flight a week instead of one flight commercially a week instead of 10 flights, private a week. How about that? I don't know. Maybe that works. Oh, nobody could figure that math out? Oh, that's because you're a lying, two-faced son of a bitch, Bernie. That's why.
Well, yes. They can also broadcast the rallies on Facebook Live or on Twitch or Twitter or any of those, and people can watch them online, and then you almost no addition to the carbon footprint. The point is that he's too important. That, by the way, folks, just so you know, that's how Marxism works. If you are part of the preferred group, if you are part of the proletariat, you get special benefits. In other words, the rules don't apply to you because you're too important, you're too good, you're too smart, you're too moral to have the rules applied to you. And the rest of us, well, we're just not that special.
Yeah. Yeah. Bernie drives like a $300,000 Ducati, right? That's his regular car. He drives around the independent green-minded Bucati, $300,000 Bucati.
Well, I'm curious. Yeah. The guy who owns $1 million homes, $1 million vacation home. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, fight the oligarchs. I'm sorry, dude, you are the oligarchy. Just so you know, in case you didn't know, now you know.
It's you, Bernie.
It's you, Bernie. Speaking of the oligarchy, I have to admit this to a point. To a certain degree, I'm starting to feel sorry for Jake Tapper. And I feel sorry for him. No, I don't. I don't feel sorry for him. But you almost feel sorry for him because the reality is he is taking a beating for the entire media who flat out it lied. And I just feel no other way to put it than lied regarding Joe Biden. The problem is that he decided to write a book about how the White House lied without ever pointing out how he lied. And so while on tour, as his book now is coming out, he's decided to come out and admit that, I should have covered it. I covered it, but not like I should have.
Business for a long time, and you know that whenever you go out on a limb like you are right now, you get criticism from a whole lot of people. What do you think of conservatives now criticizing you and the media in general for how President Biden was covered during his administration?
I think some of the criticism is fair, to be honest, of me. Certainly, I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but knowing then what I know now, I look back at my coverage during the Biden years, and I did cover some of these issues, but not enough. I look back on it with humility. What we learned through our reporting is that starting in around 2019, 2020, there were two Bidens. There was a Biden that was perfectly workable, serviceable, seemed fine, and then there was a non-functioning one that couldn't come up with names of top aides, that would lose his train of thought to an alarming degree. And that non-functioning Biden reared his head increasingly over and over. It really seemed to exacerbate and get much worse in 2023, 2024. And what Alex Thompson and I were able to uncover through this reporting, almost all with just Democratic insiders and operatives, and almost all of which only happened after the election because they wouldn't be candid until after the election. What we learned stunned us, shocked us. And look, while it was very important, and I'm not dismissing the coverage of Biden tripping on stage or falling off his bike, that was obviously indicative of something serious that was going on. I think what we learned about the non-functioning Biden rearing his head increasingly, not being able to come up with the name of George Clooney, not being able to come up with the name of top aides in the White House, I think that really reveals something even more significant, something even more disturbing about a president that was not what we, the American people, should expect and be able to demand, which is somebody who is there with it 24/7, there for the 2 a.m. emergency phone call in the middle of the night.
Yeah, the not coming up with aides names was not something I had seen until this morning. Jake, the book comes out officially, May 20th. We keep learning more pieces of this every day. We look forward to talking to you more. Excellent work as always. Thanks for coming on.
So you notice he didn't go back to falling up the stairs of Air Force One, like what happened 3 months into the election, right? 3 months into his office. No, he didn't. He was funny. He mentioned 2019, but we're talking about stuff happening during the campaign, stuff happening in 2019, stuff happening in 2020. And the worst part about it, Mike, is they made it out like those of us who saw it, right? We were exaggerating. We were lying. We were creating deep fakes. And I'm like, that's why I'm like, I don't know how anybody can say they didn't know. Because my whole thing is this. When you are in public, right, the things you are doing, you are extra careful. And so if you are going to have mistakes, if you are going to have foibles in public, in the events and the exposure that is public to everybody, how much more was it happening behind closed doors? Mike, we appear to have lost your audio. I'm not hearing anything from you, bruh. Yeah, I got nothing.
How's that? There we go.
There you go. We got you back.
All right. Yeah, listen, Jake Tapper knew exactly what was going on. All this, I started to get little bits and pieces. BS. You had full access to them behind the scenes. You were part of their media superpower. You knew exactly what was going on. The reason he's doing this now, and the reason this book is coming out, is because he's done. He's done as a news journalist, Craig. This administration won't let him ask a question at all. He's done. His agency is done. You know, we got bigger viewership than they do. So he's got to find some other ways. So he's got to walk back through the door now and go, oh, I started to see a little bit. I probably should have said more. He's trying to make some money off a book to get him through the salary he's not going to make the next 3 years while President Trump's in office.
Well, and by the way, he's not the only one. He's not the only one that's done. He's not the only one that people are calling out. And the American people, quite frankly, are calling him out. And what's funny is you know, we talked about this earlier, how Gen Z is the 18 to 21 year olds are leaning heavily Republican. It's in large part because Democrats and the media working with them, which might as well just be the same thing. They're the propaganda of the DNC. They lied.
Yep.
And people are tired of being lied to. It ain't rocket science, folks. Yeah. It really isn't. And, you know, you continually lie to people. Like, I'm sorry, look, I love this. The other day, you get someone, 1 minute they call him Hitler, the next minute they say he's too senile to be president. I'm like, so which is it? Is he Hitler or is he Bernie or is he Joe Biden? Which one is it?
Yeah.
He's either masterful in his attempt to take down America, or he's an incompetent, bumbling, senile old man.
Yeah.
You pick one. Yeah. Pick one. Logic does not dictate that he can be both.
Yeah. Anyway. Yep. Exactly.
All right, folks.
Exactly.
Well, anyway, look, that brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces. Get your Hog holster today. All right, this first one here, you're gonna love this one. You know, everyone's talking about the whole, you know, whether or not you should give a plane to the president to use. Well, this right here is the $17 million helicopter the Saudis gave Bill Clinton to use in their airspace. They gave it to him as a parting gift when he left office. He still uses it to this day. Not a single Democrat had anything to say. Have we fact checked this one just to make sure that, first of all, that it was probably 17 million back then. It's probably worth more now, but that did we actually fact check to make sure that it was given to him by the Saudis?
My sources say correct information.
There you go, folks. It has been verified. Okay, this is a great one. This is actually a very good question. This is the Riddler. Riddle me this. How do immigrants strengthen our country, but not their own? I wonder. Well, that's the thing.
You know, it's the complaint that you hear. You know, I'll say it all the time. I know I've heard you say it as well. If you're fleeing your country because of all the tyranny that's going on there, maybe if you stayed and fought the tyranny, there wouldn't be tyranny anymore.
There you go. Why don't you make your own country great again?
That's right.
There you go. All right, this one was a last-minute addition, and I had to add it because, well, Mike sent it, and I love it. It says, why did Noah build an ark when he could simply have paid more taxes to stop climate change?
I mean, come on. Give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, right? You could stop climate change. Yeah.
Hey, dude, I'm telling you, you've got that right now here in the state of California. They're bragging about all the billions of dollars that we have now in cap and trade, which is literally just a process where people pay money to get the right to pollute. And we still don't have climate, by the way, is worse than it was when he started. I'm not saying, just saying. And then this last one, we have a guy someone is handing this guy a brain, and he says, no thanks, I won't be needing that. I believe everything the legacy media shows. Yeah. How many of you guys know that guy?
That guy's buying Jake Tapper's book.
That guy is buying Jake Tapper's book.
Yep.
He pre-ordered it.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, folks. Well, that brings us close to the end of our program. But before we go, we got one more quick shout out to our sponsors.
That's right. Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. If you got yourself an AR in the past 5 years, you probably got one of their barrels, don't even know. Now you can buy from them factory direct rifle, pistol, caliber, whatever you desire. Get on over to hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly, fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. And if you want the best in field gear, tactical gear, web gear, law enforcement, military, security, EMS, whatever it may be, get your group together, get your agency together, make an order over at uscombatgear.com where you get everything except the gun.
All right, folks. Well, that's going to be it for today's program. We very much appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will be back tomorrow on Throat Punch Thursday. Till then, you have fun. Stay safe. We will see you tomorrow.